Hello and welcome to Quote Tutorials. In this video, we're going to show you how to make a wedding website using the Isle WordPress theme. At the moment, we are looking at the theme's landing page. It provides us with highlights of what's in store. This theme has 12 options in terms of homepage layouts, so there are different options depending on your needs and stylistic preferences. Next, we have the invitation pages. Those are predefined page templates you can use as your homepage if you want to have an invitation at the front page of your site, which for a wedding is a good idea. And here are the photo galleries. These are all the layout options included in the Isle theme, so you can see the different options for displaying your images. And this theme is WooCommerce compatible, so you have the option of making an online shop using the provided shop lists and single product layouts. Here are some of the inner pages you can download as part of the demo content. Those include RSVP, Contact Us, About Us, and more. And an overview of the options and elements you get, as well as the plugins that the Isle is compatible with or simply includes. What we're going to do now is scroll back to the top and have a go at making a site using the Isle theme's main home. This is the one. Here it is. Let's scroll down the page to see all the sections envisioned by the demo design. We'll be going through everything in detail later on. This is just so you can get acquainted with the general look and layout. Okay, now I'm going to import our theme. What you see here is the WordPress dashboard. This is the command center, if you will, and we will be setting things up from here. The theme-specific settings can be accessed via the Isle dashboard. Let's open it up so we can import the demo content. Go to Import. This is where you can choose whether to import all content or just the bits you need. Under Select Import Options, pick All in the drop-down menu. Before you start your import, make sure you previously installed and activated all the recommended plugins. And confirm your choice by clicking Import and OK on the pop-up prompt. The import may take some time, so wait until you see Import is completed at the bottom. Now we can go to make sure that everything has imported properly. We're going to do that by giving the site a lookover in the front end. Go to the home icon in the top bar on the right-hand side and click on Visit Site. And here is our homepage now. The demo import seems to have gone well. We can see images and the placeholder text on our page. I'm just going to scroll down to see if everything is here as it should be. Looking good so far, all the sections are here. There's a couple of things missing here at the bottom, like the Instagram feed. So, first we're going to see what the Instagram feed looks like in the demo. Let's find it. And here you can see the layout. This isn't showing up on our site because we need to connect our Instagram account and you will connect yours, otherwise it won't show. Let's get back to checking if anything else isn't showing up on our site. Another thing that hasn't imported properly is the map section that should be here. Going back to the theme demo, you can see it should be right here under your Instagram feed. The reason it's not visible on our site is because we haven't yet installed our Google Maps API key. Don't worry, I'll be showing you how to do that later on. Please note you can register for a Google Maps API key for free. However, the use of the Google Maps API is not completely free. You can find a link to the separate video tutorial with more details on how the Google Maps API works and a step-by-step explanation on how to generate your Google Maps API key in the description. Okay, I'm going back to our homepage. So let's scroll back to the top. To start with, I'm going to go through some general theme setup options with you. So, going back to the WordPress dashboard, all the global theme settings are under the Isle options, and this is where we will be adjusting our general options. And it's a good rule of thumb to start from the basics and then work your way up to more complex setup. Let's go to General. This is the overview of the general options for the Isle theme. Keep in mind that the things you set here will be applied throughout your site. Any changes made here will be global, and if you want to make exceptions, then they should be introduced from the specific page you want to be exempt. We will be taking a look at how to do that a bit later in the video. Now, back to the global options. Here is where you change your site font if you don't like the one used in the demo. You can pick your new font from the drop-down list or simply start typing its name if you know it by heart. I'm pretty happy with the font from the demo, so I will leave this set as default. If you're not happy with the selection of fonts above, or you need a specific one to match your brand, you can activate additional Google fonts here. You can also pick font style and weight as well as Google Font subset in these options. Next, this is where you can change your site colors. The color set as first main color in the demo is this. That is the color of this button text here. To make changes, you can click on this option and either type in the hex code for your color or choose a color manually by sliding your cursor around. To select your color, just leave the cursor on your chosen spot, or you can pick one of the basic color options offered here underneath. But I'm going to clear everything now since I want to keep the first main color that came with the theme. Same with the page background color. The way you can change it is the same as with the first main color. The theme default is white, and since a change would reflect on all pages throughout the site, I'd prefer to keep the demo selection. Also, you have the option of adding a background image to your pages. If you'd like to change the demo's default white background and display a background image instead, you can do that here. Just upload an image via this button and it will be displayed as the background throughout your site. And it will repeat throughout your site. But since I want to keep my wedding site looking bright and clean, I'm going to skip this. Now, the option underneath, Page Background Image Repeat. Unless you have a background image that fits the dimensions of your pages, and if your pages are the same dimension, then this is the option you'd use to wallpaper your pages with the same image so you don't end up with gaps in the background. You'd activate it simply by clicking on the Yes here. Another customization option here is the text selection color. I'm going to show you what that is on the page in the front end. This is it. When you select any section or word of text, it will be marked by our chosen text selection color. If you intend to change your text color, then it would be a good idea to make sure that you pick a complementary color for your text selection color so you aren't stuck with the one from the demo. You can do that using the same color picker we've already seen. Box layout is the option you can use to set your pages into a boxed-in look instead of having them stretched full width across the screen. I like my pages as they are, so I won't change anything here. The Passepartout option. This will create a frame on your page. You can see an example of it on our home page. It's this band keeping our page content framed. It's not enabled here because the demo is set up to have a Passepartout only on the home page. We're going to take a peek later at how the homepage settings are set. But for now, activating this option here in General Settings will make it appear on all pages of your site. I don't want to have it everywhere, so I'm skipping this. But if it works for your design, go ahead. Passepartout can work well at focusing a visitor's eye. And next is the option to set the width of your content when it's set in grid. Grids for desktop screens are usually between 1100 and 1300 pixels. As we can see, ours is currently set to 1300. Let me show you what that means in the front end. All content that is not screen wide is in a grid, and it has a width of 1300 pixels. This image at the top is in a grid and takes up its full width. So from this side to this side, we have 1300 pixels. The entire width of the screen I'm using is 1920 pixels, and that width encompasses our grid as well as the spaces to the edge of the screen. Let's see another example. Here as well, in the portfolio section, from this side to this side, we also have 1300 pixels. Anything placed in a grid will have the maximum set width of 1300 pixels. Going back to the dashboard. You can change this, of course, just pick one of the options from the drop-down menu. Preload pattern image. This is the option you'd use if you want to add an image that will be displayed while your page loads. Going back to the front for a moment, let's go back up and reload. Now, when your page is loading, all you have is the white background. Here you can add an image that will be displayed until your page finishes loading. This is useful if you have to use a slower server or expect a lot of traffic that will slow your load time. Just make sure that the image you use is 1920 by 1100 pixels so that your screen will be covered. And here we have some additional settings. You can enable smooth scroll for desktops and laptops, but please note that this option won't work on Macs or mobile devices. Now, smooth page transitions will let you add transition effects. So when the user navigates to a different page on your site, there will be an animation that creates a smoother transition. Another thing you have in the options here is enable preloading animation. Well, it's a bit like the preload pattern image option we've seen earlier. This will let us add a loader animation to signal that our page is uploading while we wait. Enable fade-out animation. This will let you add an animation that will appear when someone decides to leave a page. So the page doesn't just close, but it has a sort of going away animation. Next, we have the Show Back to Top button option, and it is already enabled by theme default. Let me show you what it looks like on the front end. That's this button here. It's there to let visitors return to the top of a page without having to scroll all the way up. And it's even better on mobile, where it saves you from swiping back up for ages. And responsiveness. This is also set as enabled. Honestly, all websites should be responsive, so turning it off would make no sense. But note that this option alone will not magically make your pages responsive. You still need to make appropriate adjustments elsewhere in your settings. But turning this option on now will let you work on page responsiveness later on. And this is where you'd add custom code if you have any. If you know how to code or have someone who can help you, this is where you'd add code to customize your site beyond what the dashboard and theme options will allow. But I definitely want to use the following option, the Google API. If you recall, our map didn't upload properly when we imported the theme's demo content, and I'd mentioned we need an API key. This is where you'd paste yours once you get it. I'll just add in my API real quick and save changes for it to take. And now I'm going to make sure that my map will show as it should on my page. Let me scroll down to the map section. And here it is, just as it should be. And it started to look like the demo thanks to the theme. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard so I can show you the back of this page in WordPress. Now, all our pages in WordPress are located under Pages, then All Pages. All the pages that are included in the theme's demo are here as well. You can see the list ordered by name. Now, it's a great time to remove any pages you might not need by deleting them. Also, I should mention you can see all the pages that come with the theme from the front end by opening the drop-down on Home to see all the options for home pages, and to see all the inner pages, just check out Pages in the main menu. Portfolio, Blog, Shop, and Elements, which are actually shortcodes used on the theme. This is a neat way you can check out the options available to you at any time. And if you want to use any of them, you can take a look at all the pre-designed variations for that element, like buttons. Opening the page for buttons opens a display of all button variations. You have options while staying true to the overall design of the theme. The buttons are shown with their hover effects and possible sizes. Okay, let's get back to what I wanted to show you earlier, our home page, which is called Main Home in the demo. What we see after Main Home written in dark gray is the page designation. Front page is the page that the visitors will see first when they navigate to your site. To change that, go to Settings, then Reading. If you want some other page to serve as your home, you can set that here. You just need to pick the page from the drop-down menu. As you can see, we have a lot of options now. That's because I didn't delete my unneeded pages. I'm going to leave Main Home as my home page because that's the one I picked at the very start. But if you like any of the other home layouts better, here is where you can set them as main. Going back to the Pages view, I'm going to take a peek at the back end of our page. This is how your individual page settings look in WordPress. Let me just close up WP Bakery options so we can see better, and we'll go through the page settings. Most of these, you'll notice, are the same options as we've seen under the Aisle General a bit earlier. However, this is where you set exceptions if you have any. Settings made here will apply only to this one page. And now we can take a look at how the Passepartout has been set up. As you can see, it's set as enabled for this page, whereas the general settings had it as disabled by default. Remember, any changes like this, specific ones that you make at page level, will trump global settings. Since the Passepartout is enabled, there are additional options for it that we can choose now. The color, for example. White is set as default, so it matches the page background color. Passepartout size can be set in percentages or pixels. The default setup is in percentages because it will allow the page to still look good on different screens, meaning the Passepartout will take up a set percentage of the display, regardless of physical size. Whereas if you set the value here in pixels, then it might end up taking up too much space on smaller screens like MacBooks. However, you can use the pixel value to set the Passepartout size for mobile devices, as has been set here by default. 20 pixels is small enough not to overtake the display, and this won't impact desktop or laptop views. Here we can see the top Passepartout is disabled by default. It's set as enabled. Why? If we choose to display the Passepartout top, it will show up above the header here. It would be as wide as the bit at the border here, and it would create additional white space on top of our white header. Generally, it would look too chunky for my taste, so I'm keeping this option as is. Next, we have options to enable a fixed Passepartout, which would create a fixed frame around our content that will be visible as we scroll. I don't need that, so it stays as default. And there's smooth page transitions, which we've already seen in global settings. And there's no reason for me to add an exception for my home page. That's as far as we go with general page options. Now, going back up, you can see on the right-hand side we have page attribute settings, and that the page we're on is set as a full-width template. That means that our content will be displayed from one screen edge to the other. So we're not limited by the grid, and we can build our page as wide as we like. If you want to change this, quickly returning to the dashboard, you can pick one of the other options from the drop-down for page attributes. If you want to build your page in a grid, just pick default template instead of the full width one. Okay, now let's reopen this WP Bakery options view. As you can see, WP Bakery Page Builder is what was used to build the pages for this theme, and it's where our content is. It might not look much like the front end, but it's very straightforward to work with once you get into it. But before we get into the content proper, we should consider what's at the top of every page, the header. Let's hop over to the front end for a sec. Going up, this. At the top of our page here is our header. This is the standard header type. There's a logo on the left, the menu is in the middle, and we have some widgets on the right. Now, the first thing I want to do is replace the logo. So, back to the dashboard. And let's find the logo option under the general options. You can see that there are some images uploaded here already. Those came with the demo content, so what we need to do now is replace them with our own. When you're uploading a logo, keep in mind that the image should be twice the size of the display dimensions. What do I mean by this? If on your site page your logo will be displayed as 100 by 50 pixels, then the logo image that you need to upload should be 200 by 100 pixels, double of what your visitors will see. So let's replace the image for our default logo. Simply click on the Upload button and follow the usual image upload steps. You can upload different logos for each of the available header variations, But I like my default logo, so I'm going to use it for all of them. This way, I'll make sure the same logo appears throughout my site, regardless of the header variation being displayed. Okay, save changes. And let's go to refresh our page and see if the logo is there. Yep, here it is. And the next thing I want to do is sort out the rest of my header. Settings for headers are right next to the ones for the logo in our general theme settings. The first thing you can see here is that there are several header types you can choose from. Let me show you what each of them looks like on the front. Starting with the first one, click Save Changes and refresh. With the first header type, which is centered, our widgets are on the left, our logo is placed in the center top, and our menu is underneath it in the middle. Now, let's see the second one. Save, refresh. This is a divided header type, meaning the menu will be split to the left and right of the logo, which will be in the center. If you choose to use this header type, try to keep an even number of menu items so it doesn't end up looking unbalanced. Here we have 6 menu items, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. And finally, we have widgets on the far left side. Okay, going back. The third type we have is the minimal header. You can only see our logo on the left and a hamburger icon on the right. However, if we click on the hamburger icon, then our menu will show up. There it is. And the widgets from before are also tucked away here thanks to the minimal header. And now for the final one. Looking pretty familiar, isn't it? So, let's see all the options we have for customizing our header. To start with, we need to pick the menu we'll be customizing from the drop-down. All the changes we make using the options underneath will reflect on the header we choose now. I'm going to go for Standard, the one that's actually on my page. The first thing we can pick is header behavior. That means you get to decide how it displays when users scroll the pages. I'll show you what each looks like in practice. Let's start with Fixed on Scroll. Let me refresh this. When you're on the page and moving down, see? The header follows you and stays visible and accessible at all times. Next, no behavior. When you go to the front, you can see the header, but when you move down the page, the header disappears. There's no header behavior set, so it stays in its place. And now Sticky on Scroll Up. That means that our header will show up only when we're on the page and scrolling upward. To demonstrate. As we're moving down, nothing is happening. But when we go up, oh, here it is. Our header shows up. Okay, now the last one. Sticky on Scroll Up, Down. Save changes, refresh, and this is what it looks like. When we scroll down, we can see it, and when we go back up, it's still there. It's not going to go away, and this is the header type I want to keep. And here underneath, we have the option to enable top bar. It will appear in the space above the header, here. And it's useful if the header space isn't enough for you and you need more room for additional information and content. The next thing we can do is put our menu in grid. Let me enable it so we can see what that would look like. Refresh and see? The arrangement of elements in the header is the same, but now they're tucked in so they fit within 1300 pixels. The logo is no longer at the edge and neither are the widgets on the right. I'm just going to return it to the way it was. Save changes, refresh, and we can see it's jumped back to full width. Another thing we can change here is the background color for the menu area. The default is white, and since I want my menu to match the page background, I'm going to keep this as it is. If you've changed the page background earlier in general settings, then make sure to match the header background to it now. Also, if you're using colored backgrounds, then in the background transparency field, you can make your header transparent to some degree. Adding the numeral 1 here will mean that the header will be entirely opaque, whereas adding a 0 will mean the header will be fully transparent. However, if you add a decimal, like 0.5, then you will have 50% transparency. Next, we can add shadows or borders to our header. Also, there's the option to adjust header height. I'm going to put in something excessive so you can see the difference. Say 200 pixels. Save changes, refresh, and see? This is what a 200 pixel wide header would look like. It's really too thick, so I'm just going to reset it. There. Now we can also adjust the menu area side padding here. What does this mean? It's this space to the left and right of the menu. If you want to add more by bringing the menu items closer together, then you can adjust the padding here. Generally, I'm happy with the look, so it can stay. We can also choose the menu area position. Ours is currently centered, but we can shift it to the left or right. But remember, our logo is on the left and our widgets on the right, so we might end up smushing one or the other. Plus, I like a symmetrical menu, so I'm not going to change this. But for those of you who aren't fans of symmetry, here's an interesting option. We can skew your header using the Enable Skewed Section option. Let me show you what that means. Yes. Save. Refresh. And now we have a header that's sloping to the left. Going back, that angle of the header and the direction it's skewed in is preset. However, if you want to change the default look of the skewed header, you can do so via SVG code, which you can input here. In terms of available options, the theme will let you pick a color for the skewed section if you want. In any case, I don't want to have a skewed header, so I'm going to turn this off. And now we get to the sticky header settings. If you recall, I've set my header sticky on both scroll up and down. If you pick the same, then here is where you might want to make some additional adjustments. For one, the header will appear after scrolling for 340 pixels from page top. Now, I actually think that's not enough, as it will show up over the image slider that's at the top of my page. So I'm going to change this to 1100 pixels. That should be enough so it doesn't obscure my slider. Save, refresh, and starting to scroll down, looking good, and here it is. Okay, just as I wanted. So let's go back. Now, there's a few more options for a sticky header here. We can put it in grid like we tried with our menu, or give it a color, or turn it transparent to some degree. We can give it a border. Basically, all the same things we had with our general header settings. And following here, we have settings for the fixed header type, main menu. Now, for the main menu, we have some additional settings. We can change its color, background, give it a degree of transparency, or put it in a grid. For example, here, the Y drop-down menu is displayed in a grid. Let me show you. There. This menu is in a grid. As we can see, its content hasn't spread from one screen edge to the other. It fits in our 1300 pixel grid. Moving on, we can change the drop-down position, text color, hover, active color, etc. We can also adjust the font family for all our menu items. In fact, you can do this separately for each menu level. Also, you can change the mobile header settings if you're not happy with the default ones. You can set text color, background color, and so on. All the same options we've seen so far. This is more or less it for header settings. So now I want to go back to the front. Keep in mind that we've been looking at the header and global settings, and all this can be adjusted at page level as well. What I want here is to change the menu. This one here. I don't want to keep the default one. Instead, I want to insert my own. You can do this by going to the back and finding Appearance, then Menus, and then choosing which of your site menus you want to change from this drop-down. For me, that's the main menu. I just need to click Select to open the settings for it. And now here it is. It's really long because of all the demo stuff shown in it, like all the homes, pages, elements, and so on. What I'm going to do is delete the whole thing. Okay. And now I'm going to take a new one by going to create a new menu here. So first I need to name it. Let's say My Menu, and just click on Create Menu to save it. Next, what I need to do here is choose Main Navigation to signal that this menu will serve as my main menu. Also, I want to check the mobile navigation option to make sure any mobile users will have a menu to navigate on, and it will have the same things as what laptop and desktop users will see. Save menu. And now we can start adding the pages we want to be visible in our menu. Here on the left is the page selection. All the pages in our site are listed here. I'm going to add my front page, main home, add to menu. Now that it's there, I can change its label. I don't want it to say main home, I want it to just be home. The next thing I want to add, since my list is really long, I'm going to search for my page instead of scrolling. I'm looking for our story. Here it is. Add to menu. And after that, I'm going to find the RSVP page and add it to the menu as well. What more do I need? A gallery. Here the pages are titled by their layouts. So I'm going to pick the gallery layout with 3 columns. Add to menu. And of course I need to rename it now. I don't want my menu to say 3 columns. It would make my website look unfinished. So gallery. Now, I also want to include a blog on my site, so let's find a page for it. Add to menu. And I want to have a shop page too. I'm going to use the shop homepage layout for this. And I'll just rename it. Okay, now that I'm done with all that, I want to save my menu. Click, and once it's finished, let's head over to check the front. Refresh, and look, here it is. Home, our story, RSVP, gallery, they're all there. The next thing I want to show you is how to add widgets to your header. Those are the ones here on the right. So, back, and the widget options are here under Appearance and then Widgets. This is a view of all our available widgets and widget areas. I'm going to minimize the ones I don't need right now. All of these on the right are widget areas, and we add the widgets we want by dragging and dropping them to one of the areas on the right. So, let's select the widget area we need now. It's this, Header Widget Area 1. You can see that there are 3 widgets here already, those already present in our header. But we can add new ones simply by dragging and dropping them. And I added this image widget just for the sake of explanation. I don't need it, so let me delete it and we can take a look at the options already here. Those are these 3 here. In the back, that looks like this. Our search opener, it's the magnifier icon here. Click it and the search form opens, letting you search the site. Now, the things we can change here are the icon color. Just add the hex code or pick a color manually. And the icon hover color. If you look on the front end, the default setting just turns it into a lighter shade. I'm good with that, so it can stay. We can also change the margins. If you're not happy with the position of the icon, then you can move it in any direction, be it left or right, up or down, by changing its margin values. The values here are for the margins top, right, bottom, left. Basically, it goes clockwise from the top. Why is there only 15 pixels for the right margin and the rest are set as 0? Well, that's so we'd have this space here, separating search from the next widget. Now, another thing you can do here is add a text to go with your search icon. Given that my widget arrangement is pretty tight, any text here will make the whole thing too cramped for my taste. Next, the WooCommerce drop-down cart widget. I want to keep this because I have a shop page and I will be making an online shop for my site. So, a cart widget in my header will make it easier for users to keep track of their purchases. Now going back. The only thing I can edit from here is the margins, since this functionality is made possible by WooCommerce, and most of my settings will be done from there. And the final third widget that we have here is the side area opener. We can see the icon's color as well as the hover effect. Margin settings clockwise here as well. And finally, we can set a title for it. What it looks like on the front with the default settings is this: a hamburger icon with a nice hover effect. When we click on it, the side area with additional space for information or content appears. Everything you see in it can be adjusted in the widget settings. What we need is the side area widget area, the one right here. You can see that there are quite a few widgets here. The separator, for example, its purpose here is to provide some additional space here at the top. It's not actually a widget you can see with the naked eye. Its color is white, so it blends into the rest of the side area. Basically, it serves as some kind of margin. Next, this is actually the logo, uploaded as an image file. So let me replace it with my own here as well. Add from library, okay. Let me just check the front. Okay, here it is. So now you might want to change the text. You can do that using the visual or text editing mode. You can use the text editing mode even if you don't know much about HTML, since you don't have to change the tags. Just select and replace the placeholder text. Then this separator widget is, again, here to provide some blank space between items. And another text widget where you should replace the content with your own. The Instagram widget. I don't want to display my Instagram feed in my side area, so away it goes. Another separator to give us space and more text. You can edit the content from either mode. Now this button widget. You can see the text says view map, so that will be just a sec. This button here. Of course, we need more than just plain text. So our button has a link for the Google Map with the location. Again, view map is just the button title, and we can choose how it opens. The drop-down here includes a choice between the map opening in the same or a new window. On top of that, you can choose button color, hover color, background color, borders. Let's take a look. The front is looking neat, and if you click on the button, yes, the map opens in a new tab. Now, the social platforms listed below. Let me close this up first. Okay, we can see that these are added using the social icons widget. There are a few fields here. From the text, we see that this first one is for Facebook, and underneath is the link for the profile. We also pick whether it will open in a new window or the same one we're in. Now the icon size field says 17 pixels. Even though this is displayed as text, it is technically an icon. Now we can also pick its color, hover color, and margins. The same applies for all the other social widgets below. The options are the same, be it Pinterest or Instagram. That's it for our side area. Of course, you can remove any of these or add new widgets. I'm going to leave. It's okay because I didn't make any changes since the last save, but you should save any changes you made so they're not lost. Now, let's get back to setting up our page. Here in WP Bakery, every block, each section we see on the front end was actually created as a row. The first row contains the Revolution Slider plugin, the one giving us that image slider at the top. When we click on the little pencil here, we can choose the slider we want to add or edit. These are ready-made sliders created using the plugin which came with the demo, and I will show you how to make sliders with your own content. The Revolution Slider plugin is accessible from here in the admin menu. It's bundled with the theme and lets you create stunning sliders. To start with, I'm going to find the slider I want to edit. Let's see, page 2, here it is. Main home. Just click on the pencil icon to edit. And now we're looking at our slider with the first slide, i.e. image, being displayed now. What we can't see is this graphic, text, and button on top of the slider. The reason it's not showing the plugin is because it's not added directly on the slides. Look, these are the 3 slides we have, but the overlay text, button, and graphic have been built on a separate static layer. Imagine it is a layer over your entire slider. This is what's keeping it on top of every slide. It's built using the Global Layers option found here under Slides. And here it is. What does this mean? Basically, it means that everything you add under Global Layers will show on each slide that comprises the slider. So we have 3 slides. Here on the front, you can see that all 3 elements, button, text, and graphic, are present on every one. You can use this method whenever you want to have the same elements on each slider without having to add them manually each time. What I'm going to do now is replace this text here. I'm going to leave this leafy graphic. Now we can add the text by double-clicking on it. It will show up here in the right in the editor view. Now it's a wedding website, so I'm going to replace the word forever with love. But now I have this tiny issue. My word is rather short, which has created a spacing issue. So I'm going to move these dots here to even things out. You can change their position by first clicking on one of them and selecting the layer, and then head over to the editor view and select size and position. And now, it's hard to see on the video, but using your keyboard arrow keys, you can move the dot. Note the pixel readout in the x-axis is shifting along with the dot. I personally find this easier than trying to hit the right pixel number by typing them in, so I'll move this manually until I'm happy with the spacing. Okay, now we can see that I've stopped at 133 pixels. Not a number I would have thought to type, but if you have set spacing and you know the numbers, you can set yours here. Now, second dot. I'm going to move it manually as well. Again, I'm using the keyboard keys to move it, so it's a bit hard to show on the video, but you can track the dot itself. Okay, next I want to change this word, live, and I need to change its position too. Again, just click size and position and shift it with the keys. And the same goes for this text on the right. Let's make it life and move its position as well. Okay, looking good. And let me just save it. Here, save. Give it a sec and let's take a look at the front. Refresh and there it is, our new text, and the spacing looks good. Now, the next thing I want to do is to replace this button here. I want to add one more button, but I don't want it to be identical, so I'm going to add a button with an outline. If you remember, when we were setting up the menu, we took a look at the elements the Isle theme has to offer, and we opened the page displaying all the button options you have. This here is also an outline button, but I'm going to customize the new one, so it won't look the same even if it's the same type of button. Let me show you in the back. Let's go to All Pages and then search for buttons to find the page showing our button options. Here it is. Okay. Open the link to see them on the front. Now the one I want is this, but I want to change everything that's in our main color, this hazelnut, to white. So in the back, I need to edit the settings for the outline button type. Here it is. And now I'm going to change all the colors to white. Go to Design Options tab and just change the colors to white. Border too. Then save changes and update the page. Now when I refresh it, the button should merge with the background as both are white. And yes, we can't see it with the naked eye. Now I'm going to copy its code so I can add it to my slider. Open the classic mode. This opens the backend editor where I'll Ctrl+F search for outline. Now that I've found the code for my button, I'm gonna copy it. You need the code containing the words button type. And take care to select everything, including the brackets. Copy. And we're going to return to our slider. Since this will be an additional button, I won't change anything, I'll just add a new text layer for it. And there's the layer. Double-click to select it and go right to paste our button code. Save it. What I want to do now for my new button is to match the settings to the old one. So let's see what those are. The size and position. The old button is center aligned. See the pale markers? So now select the new button, pick size and position, and click on the options to align it in the center both horizontally and vertically. The next thing, the old button is lowered down by 99 pixels along the y-axis. I'm going to copy that for my new one as well. And save. Refresh and take a look. The buttons overlap since I set identical positioning for the new one. I need to change that, so select the one on the top, it's the new one. I'm going to draw them apart. Shift one left and the other right. In the x-axis, give it a minus 122 pixels. This will shift it to the left. And the other one, set 122 pixels too, but without the minus, so it moves to the right. Save. Let's refresh and see how it looks now. Okay, at first glance we can see that our new button looks smaller than the old button. And it shouldn't since it's the same button differently styled. The difference is caused by the revolution slider. It has the responsivity option on. Oh, sorry, I see I selected the wrong button. This is the one we need to look at. And I'm going to turn off all these options for responsive behavior. Save. Now that these are off, my button won't change. It won't try to adapt to different screen sizes guided by the revolution slider. I want to keep my theme settings for responsiveness. Back to front and refresh. Okay, looks good. However, there's no animation for it since I added it subsequently. So now I'm going to give it an animation effect to match the old button. That's the short slide from bottom animation. You can do this in the back by going to the animation option. Make sure you selected the right button. And in this drop-down, select the short slide from bottom option. Even before you click on it, you can see the effect on the left. And here, I want the animation to start 800 milliseconds after the button loads, and it can last 800 milliseconds. Also, the easing, this is completely up to you. I'll set this one. No save. And let's check it. Refresh. Yes, that should be it. So now I'm going to show you how to change the slider images using the first slide as an example. Go to Slides, First Slide. You can change the image by going here to Slide Options, then Background and select from Media Library. I'm going to upload the new image now to replace the theme demo. If you want the image to be able to cover the whole screen, save it as 1920 by 1100 pixels. Insert and save. Let's check the front now. Refresh. There it is. Now the slides have a zoom in and zoom out effects on the images. See? You can set that in the back. Still under Slide Options, Ken Burns, we can see that the zoom is on for our slide. The options below, the zoom starts from 100% image size. Basically, when the slide loads, the image displays at 100%. And zooms in until it reaches 115% of the original image size. So if you type in a bigger number here, the zoom effect will be deeper. Let me show you how the second slide is set up. Slides, second slide. See? It's the same thing, but in reverse. The slide starts out at 115% and zooms out until it reaches 100%. Now, it's generally not advisable to set values under 100% as this usually doesn't look good. For example, with 80%. Actually, not saved, just a sec, here. This is what it will look like on the front when it zooms out. So I'm just going to switch it back to 100% and save. Give it a sec. Okay. That's it for the slider revolution on this page. Using these steps, you can replace the images on the remaining slides. I don't want to bog you down with too much information or bore you with repetition, so let me close up all these tabs. We won't need them anymore. The next section after the slider, going back to our page backend, This is the row with a section title shortcode. You can click on the pencil to edit it. The first thing you get to pick is if the title will have dots between the words. That's these dots here. Next, the horizontal position. You can pick whether to align it to the left, center, or right. The default one is the center. We can also use this side padding option if we want to fine-tune its position. You can use the padding to shift it a bit to the left or to the right. Then the icon type. Here, that's actually this image, but you can pick SVG to add custom code instead. I'll keep the image. The bottom margin. If you want to change the image's distance from the title text, you can set a margin to move it up or down. The value is set in pixels, and you can decide how much you want it to be. We can also change the title, and the text as well. That's this small one underneath. Next, the Title Style tab lets us choose the title tag from H1 to H6, and the title color. The default is this one here. Next, we can add a line break if we want. You need to enter a numerical value here. There's a little explanation underneath, but basically pick the word after which you want the line to break and enter its position in the field above. For example, if you want your line to break after the third word, just put in the number 3. Since we only have 3 words here, there's no need for a break. But if you decide to have it, you can choose to disable it on smaller screens. And the Text Style tab. It concerns this text here. You can change its style, color, size, line height, font weight, and you can add a margin if you want to move it away from the title. The next thing we have on our page is the video button. Let's see what options we have there. To start with, you have the field where you add the link to your video. It can be from YouTube or Vimeo, wherever it's hosted. And you can change the image for the video. I'm going to upload one. Save changes, update, and check the front. Refresh, and there's my new image. Now, another thing I'd like to change is this button for the video. Let's open the WP Bakery options for this section. If you choose the default button, basically an icon from the pack, you can change the color here, size as well. If you opt for the custom button, as it's the case in the demo, you can upload your own image and customize the button style that way. I'm going to upload an image of my own for my button, obviously using the media library. Give me a moment. Set image, save changes, then update. To the front, refresh, and there's my new button. It now has a double outline. The section after this one, it's this here. We have one row and there's another row nestled within it. This inner row has a shortcode for the elements holder. Click on the little pencil and you can see it's set with 3 columns. Those are these 3 on the front. Now, each of those columns is represented by an elements holder item here in the back. Let's see what options they offer. The first thing that's caught my eye is the padding. It's set with some default values that you can adjust if you want to move the element. So these 24 pixels, that's the distance you have from the margin here at the top. Then the 50 pixels represent padding on the right. The 0 is for the bottom, and finally another 50 pixels as padding on the left. If we change any of these values, the whole column here will shift its position on the page. So in these element holder items, you can add any shortcode the theme has. The one used to make the columns is icon with text shortcode. Now here we can pick things like type, which decides the position of the icon relative to the title or text. It can be left from text or left from title, or as set by default, at the top in the center. If you don't want to use an image for the icon, there are other options. Just pick one from the icon packs in the list. Now the demo included an image and I won't be changing it, so I don't need this. But here is where you choose an icon from the selected pack. So this is the image/icon that I'm keeping. And here is where you'd add the title. That's this. And the subtitle is here. Memories. And below that, the text itself. It's just dummy text content here. Now we can also have the option to add a link to the icon. I'll skip that. And move on to the icon settings tab. This is where you can customize your icon if you picked one from the icons pack earlier. You can start by selecting the icon type. You can choose between normal, circular, or square shape. You can also pick a size from tiny to very large. Or you can set a custom size in pixels and a custom shape too. We have the choice of icon colors and hover colors if you need them. In the last tab, we have the text settings. You can use the title tag drop-down to set an appropriate size for your title. You can adjust its color as well. We also have the option here to set the top margin, to separate the title from the image above it. And the same options we have for the title are available for the text, so I'll move on. Now we can see on our page that we have a background image here. It was added using row settings for this entire row here. So go to Elated Settings and you can change the image in the background image field. I'm going to do that. Here it is. Set image and then save changes and update the page. When you do that, let's go to the front to check. Refresh, and this is what our background looks like now. Now, the next thing we see here is that our background image is halfway underneath our video button row. Let me show you how that's done. In the row settings, under the Design Options tab, you can see this map, and here we have a negative top margin. This -17% is the span here, the amount that is tucked under the video button. Now, going back, there's another 17% that's not in the negative, here. That has given us this inner padding, the space between the video button row and the column/element items. Without this padding, the elements would have overlapped with the video button. So using the negative margin and positive padding allowed us to optimize element placement. And note, the value is set in percentages because those, unlike pixels, are relative values and will adapt to all screen sizes. Okay, the next section we have is the portfolio list. Now for this to work, we first need to make portfolio singles. So let's head back to do that. We're going to do this using the Aisle portfolio options. And actually, the first thing I'll do is make a new portfolio category. That way I can immediately organize my singles when I start making them. So I'm going to make a new category called the Big Day. Add new portfolio category, and here is our new category now. Then this here. This is actually just text that's been made into a portfolio single. But this image here and this image here as well. They've been added as images to our section background. This time not using the row, but using the column. I'm going to change the image now. So go to Design Options and I'm going to remove this image and add my own. Upload image. Okay, this one. And set image. Save changes, update. And let's check it out. Refresh. Actually here. And there it is. Our new image has shown up. Okay, now, since I already have my portfolio category, I can start making the singles. So, this first one. I mentioned this text is a portfolio single. Let me show you how to make one like it. Head over to Add New. And the first thing I'll do is name it. Now that's not super important as this is just the page title, it won't be visible. And since this single serves primarily as decoration, I won't waste time on stuff like descriptions, I'll just add the category and show you how to make the rest of this decorative single. So scroll down to Elated Portfolio Settings. And first we need to pick the portfolio type. In the drop-down I'm going to select Portfolio Simple Text. And right underneath that, I'm going to add the text that will be displayed. And that's it. Just go back to the top and publish the page. So now we made a decorative single like this one and this one. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to make a proper portfolio single, one that won't be purely decorative. So let's go back to Add New. And the first thing I'm going to do is enable the creation of this portfolio via WP Bakery. Let's find the WP Bakery page builder options and then the role manager. Currently it's set to only allow page building, but I'm going to switch it to custom so I can select everything. Then go down to Save Changes. And after that, let's go back to our single and refresh. And now we have the WP Bakery button that I'm going to press. There. This is our page builder for creating portfolio singles. So let's start by setting the category for our single. There's my big day. Now, let's set the featured image. Here, upload, select, and one for the portfolio. Okay, there it is. Set image. And now we can start in on the elements. I'm going to pick a row and I'll be adding all my content there. Oh, I forgot to name my single. There. Okay. Now we can add elements to our row. Let's start with section title. Familiar menu, no? I'll just add the title and some placeholder text here as well. My portfolio style is going to be without dots. And the position left. Okay, save changes. And now I'll publish it so we can see what the front looks like. Open the link. Well, the bare bones are there. Now I want to add one more element here among these on the side. You can do that via the elated additional portfolio sidebar items. Add new. Give it a title and some dummy text. And then update the page. And refresh. There it is, my new item. And you can add on as many as you like. Underneath, we have the social share icons. They are activated by the theme options in the section for social networks. And here we can see that sharing is on for portfolio items by default. And we're going back to elated portfolio settings to change the type for our new single. I'm going to keep it as default so you can see what that looks like when we add the image. So a bit up, let's upload some images. I'm going to add a couple of new ones. You can select multiple images at once. Okay. And they're automatically selected, so I'll just add to gallery. Remove the featured image and update. In fact, update the page too. Okay, refresh to see it. That looks yummy. And now we have the default type portfolio single. Still, I don't like this title here. It's higher than the image line. I'm going to solve that by adding empty space. So in the back, go to Add Element and just search for empty space. There. Let's see if this will sort us out. Save, update. And let's refresh the front. Okay, much better. Now that that's done, let's continue setting up our portfolio. I'll skip all the general options, they're the same as the ones we saw for making pages. But under the portfolio type drop-down, you can choose how you'd like your portfolio to display. There are quite a few pre-designed looks for portfolio singles, which you can either try out here or view on the theme's live demo. And another thing before we move on from the type, you can use a mix of different types of singles in your portfolio. There's nothing stopping you. The next option I want to show you is this one, Portfolio External Link. When a user clicks on an item in the portfolio list, they won't be taken to a single, but to whichever page you link. And right under this, we have the featured image option. If you recall, we added a featured image at the start of our single making. And if it's not the appropriate size or if you want to change it, here is where you can do that. Also, I'm going to add the same image as before, and it will be shown just on the portfolio list. You won't see it in the single. Okay. This option right underneath, Dimensions for Masonry. On the front end, You can see that some images are tall, some have the same width but aren't even half as tall. And some, like this, are set with landscape orientation. You determine all these things in the settings for each single. So for my new single, I'm going to set this featured image display to large height. It's going to be modeled after this first image. The other options like small, that would be the next image in line, this one. And the one on the bottom, this one will be set as large width. And that's it for this single. Update. Now I'm going to make a few more singles so we can form our own portfolio list. But there's no need for you to watch me do the same steps, so I'm going to skip ahead with the video. Now that my portfolio singles are ready, we can head over to the home page in the portfolio list section. Here it is, update. Okay. Now we can start editing the list. The list template, you can change it to gallery, but I want to keep it as masonry. Next, the click behavior. The default is to open the portfolio single when a user clicks on an item in the portfolio list. The alternative is to have just the images open when a portfolio item is clicked. Also, we can pick the column number, it's set to 3 and I'm keeping that. And we can pick how much spacing to have between portfolio items. You can have no spacing or add a huge gap. You can decide how many portfolio items to show. 8 is the default, and I made 8 new singles, so this stays for me. Fixed image proportions. If you don't upload your images in the required dimensions, you can turn this option on, and the proportions set in the portfolio single options will apply. The ones under dimensions for masonry, which we discussed a minute ago. We can also add shadows to our images. Now, this is where you set the category for your portfolio list. Mine is the big day. There it is. And the next option is to display your singles by their IDs, not their category. My list is based on a specific category, so I won't need this. And the same applies to the tag option. Then the remaining two options, order by date, can stay, and order ascending is okay too. Let's move on to content layout. Actually, let me first save my changes and then we can carry on. And I want to check if my portfolio has updated. Refresh. And there they are. My portfolio list displaying all the new singles I made. Going back to the portfolio list options, let's see what other options we have. Content layout, item style, gallery trim with border. Let me show you on the front. That's this. When you hover over an item, there's this border. See? Let me show you a couple of others, like this standard shader. Save changes, update. And over to the front. Refresh. And let's see. Now when you hover, there's this sort of illuminated effect. It's pretty subtle and there's no text on hover. It's placed under the image now. Okay, let's see another example. Options. Maybe slide from bottom. Let's see that one. Update. And back to the page to refresh. Okay, there. When you hover, the text, the title and category slide out to become visible. Now I'm going to go back and return the style to what it was by default. This one with trim. Save changes, update, and let me just refresh the front. Yes, my list is back to what it was. Going back to the portfolio list settings. The Enable Title option lets users see the title of a single when they hover over it. That's this. When you hover, this is the title and this is the category. And if we turn the title off, no, save, update. Let me show you. Refresh. Now, when we hover, there's just the category. But I don't want to keep it that way, so back to enable the title. Okay, and after that we have the title tag option. You can pick any of them from H1 to H6. I'll stick with the default. And the transform as well. You can set it to any of the available types. Now the category. That's this. You can show it or not. And if you have an excerpt, you can set it to show in the portfolio list. As for the additional features, we can set pagination type if we have a slide or something, but with our list type there's no need for it. Next, the category filter. To actually use this option, you need to make more categories and singles under those categories. Since I only have the one, I'm skipping it. Finally, you can enable a kind of appearing animation if you want to. I'll leave it as is and I'll save the changes I've made. Update. I'm going back to the front quickly to refresh and check if it's okay. Yep, good. Now, our next homepage section is the counter. On the front, it's right under the portfolio list and it looks like this. Now in the back, the difference between this and the other rows we've seen so far is that this one is split into 4 columns. To illustrate, let's look at the portfolio list row. Here for the layout, the first option has been selected, this 1 through 1. So 1 row, 1 column. And for the counter, we have the custom layout set. Here. The layout for this row includes splitting it into 4 even columns. So each column takes up 1/4 of the row, and every column has a counter shortcode added to it. The settings you have for it are type, you can pick between 0 and random. Underneath you can set the number that will be displayed. Then font size, and you can change the colors. The title, that's this here. You can customize it, of course, and the title tag. And the title color, font weight if you want to change it. I'll exit. Each of these counters has the same set of options. Basically, it's the same element repeated 4 times, and you can adapt them to your needs. And another thing we have here is this empty space element. It's set with 10 pixels. There's an alternative way to create this space. In design options, you can, here in the bottom padding, just add 10 pixels to the current number and this would apply for the entire row. Actually, I haven't changed anything here, so there's no need to update. Moving on, the next section is testimonials. And actually the background here is an image. You can see it up here in the testimonials row settings. I'm just going to replace the demo image with my own. Let me find it here. Set image. And save changes. Update the page. And let's refresh the front. Now my testimonial section has a new background. The next thing I want to show you is this. The testimonials element here is made up of testimonial singles. We'll take a look at them using the Aisle Testimonials option. Much like with the portfolio, we'll start by adding a category for our testimonials. Under Add New, you can add new singles, and under the Aisle Testimonials, you can see all the pre-made ones. Let's take a closer look at one of them. From the options available, you have the title of the testimonial single, which isn't visible anywhere, so you can name yours number 1, 2, 3, anything. Now, this title field. This will be visible to users, and in the demo it's set on every slide, acting as a sort of title. Then text. We have dummy text here, but on your site this is where you'd put an actual testimonial quote. Then the author name and their role or position. And if you have an image you want to show on your testimonial single, this is where you'd add it. The Aisle has 2 different types of testimonials for you to choose from. I'm using the one without a picture for my website, but I accidentally clicked on a type that does have a picture. So now you get to learn something extra. That's it for the single. Now let's get back to the testimonial section setup. The settings for it are pretty straightforward. We have a choice between boxed and standard types. Then the skin can be light or default, i.e. dark. Currently it's dark. Like with headings, dark skin goes on light backgrounds. Then we can pick the quote mark color. This applies to these quotation marks here. Currently it's set to white. And next we have the text side padding. If you don't like the spacing for the text here, you can add padding in percentages to change it. Just set a higher value like 32 And let's see what that looks like. The padding has drawn the text in, and I actually quite like the compact look, so this is gonna stay. And in terms of other options, we have, let's see, the number of testimonials shown, and this is where we set the category. And over in slider settings, the first option we have is to enable slider loop. This means your testimonial singles will be on a slider that will loop back on itself. So, looking at the front end, this would be our starting single, and as we click along, it would slide into the following ones, however many you set, until it reached the last one, and then it would start over from the beginning. With Enable Slider Loop, there's no finish line for the testimonials, which is why I'm leaving it enabled. The slider autoplay. This is where you set your testimonial slider to start moving automatically. So you wouldn't click as I am now, the slider would just start playing, let's call it, immediately. Next, slider duration. The default is 5000 milliseconds, and that's decent. If you've activated autoplay and want to speed up or slow down the movement of the singles, this is where you'd adjust the duration. Same goes for the slide animation duration. The default is 600 milliseconds, and that's okay. Here is where we can enable slider navigation. It says arrows, but actually here we have this dash with a hover effect for navigation. When you're clicking or hovering, it says next, but when it's undisturbed on its own, it shows the number of the following slide. So our next slide is the third one. There. And now we're ready to loop back to the first one, and so on. If you want to, you can disable the numbers on slider navigation or the slider pagination. That's this. Let's try that one. No, save, update. And on the front, when we refresh our page, the pagination marks at the bottom are gone. But actually, I'd like it back, so I'll return it quickly. Just think it looks nicer. A moment. Here. And also, you can change the navigation pagination skin. There's the default, or dark, and light. With my chosen design, I need to keep the dark. One more thing, I almost forgot, this image above the testimonials. It's been added as a simple single image element. It has the standard options we've already seen. And that's it for now. The next section we have is again a section title. Same options and settings. And again, we have the negative bottom margin so that the image overlaps with the text. The text is different, but everything else is the same. So let's focus on the blog section after that. Over in the back, as we had with the portfolio list, our blog list will require us to make singles for it. So over in posts, let's first go to the categories to make a new category for our blog list. Say wedding news. And just add new category. And there it is. Now I need to make a new post. It's like a single for blogs. So go to add new. And then to work in, I'll just activate the WP Bakery page builder. Backend editor, it's easier to work in. Then I'll start by adding a title. Okay, next I'm going to leave the post format as standard. The other options are gallery, link, quote, video, audio. You can pick one depending on what you want your post to look like. Then I'm going to pick the category, the one I made, wedding news. And after that, I'll add some tags for it. Now, you can add tags the same way you add categories. Go to tags, and then just give it a name and click Add New Tag to create one. But actually, I'll use the predefined tags. Just start typing and the tag will show up. Click to select and keep adding more like me if you want. To finish, click Add. Now our post is tagged. Here underneath, we can add a featured image. I'm going to upload one from my computer. Give me a moment. There. Set image. Okay, and now I'm going to publish the post. And it's gone back to the Gutenberg editor, and I'll reopen WP Bakery because I want to use that for my building. And now let's see the front. Loading, and we can see that our featured image is here. There's our category and the post title with tags underneath. Now I need to add some more elements to my post. Add elements. Let's start with the basic element row. And then I can start adding elements within that row. Let's start with text block. And I'll just replace this default placeholder text with a longer dummy text. I want to bulk up this section. I'll keep this opening paragraph, save changes, and update. Now let's see the front. Refresh. And scroll down. There it is. After that, I want to add a quote. And I'll use the text block element for that as well. I'll just add a bit of placeholder text here and select it, then click on block quote to format it and save changes. And update so we can head over to check the front. Refresh. And there's my quote. Now, I'd like to increase the spacing here. I'll do that by adding an empty space element. Okay, let's give it a 25 pixels, for example. And then just drag it over so it's between the text and the quote. Update. Now let's see what it looks like. Refresh. And okay, now there's a bit more space here, it looks good. But it would be nicer if I were to center align the text as well. In fact, I want all my posts to be center aligned. I'm going to set that up by going to the back, and then in the aisle options, I need blog. And here we need to find the settings for the blog single. And there it is, center aligned single posts. Set to yes, save changes, and let's check our post. Refresh. Now everything is centered. The category, the title, our text, the tags and the social icons, everything. But my post is still pretty bare, so let's add something else. How about an image gallery? We can add some visuals to our content. Okay, images. And I'll just pick these 3 to add. Okay, I don't need anything else. Save changes. Update, and let's go to refresh the post. Okay, better. But again, some spacing issues here. So I'll adjust the intra-image spacing in the gallery options. Here I'll switch huge to tiny and save changes. Update. Let's see now. Excellent, except here I need to add more space here. So I'll just go back and get myself another empty space element. And I'll set it up with a higher value than before, say 45 pixels. Save and drag. Then update. Now to check if the spacing is good. Yep, much better. Everything is clearly displayed, so now I can move on to the sidebar area. More specifically, I want my post to include information about the author. And to do that, I need to create or modify a user. We do that by finding the option in the admin menu. Users, then all users. Then admin. We're going to personalize this account, starting with first name and then last name. Nicknames required too. Okay, display as Angie. And I need an email address. Okay, of course you'll enter your own information here. And now, if you have any social network accounts, you can list them here. You can add a link to your website, or add a link to your Facebook account, or Twitter, or any of these. Then the author bio. If you want to add one, it's not required. And basic contact info. Oh, make sure to match this with the email address you left above. I'm going to add the one I put in earlier. Where's the autofill when you need it? Just a moment. Okay. When you're done, scroll to the bottom and update profile. Now you should have received a verification email. So once you've verified your profile, you can fill in additional non-required information, like the bio here. We can add a tagline. Oh, I forgot. I added a profile picture after verification but didn't record it. Changing it is easy though. You can do it via Gravatar, which is free to use. Just make an account, if you don't already have one, and upload your image. Now, if you've added everything you want, we can continue down to update the profile. Once that's done, let's check out the front to see what it looks like. Refresh and yes, we can immediately see that our author's image is here as well as the text in the About Author area. And here at the bottom we have this author box. It shows up only when you add all the required information to the user profile. So we have the image and the name, tagline, bio, it's all there. Let me show you how the sidebar area is constructed. In the back, find Appearance, then Widgets. The widget area we need is called Sidebar. You can see that there are a number of widgets already here. That's thanks to the theme demo content. Widgets are added to the widget area by drag and drop. The first one we have is the search. That will be this form here. Then after that, we have the separator widget. It's there to make some space between the search and the author info widget. Its settings include no color and there's 0 pixels set for width and thickness. However, the top margin has 20 pixels. Those 20 pixels are actually responsible for this space here. Then after that, we have the author info. As you can see, there's not much to change here. All that we have on the front, like this image here, is drawn from the user profile that we customized earlier. And another thing this widget will automatically display is this author bio here. It's the same as the one added to the user profile. Okay, after that we have another separator. Again, it's there to help with spacing. After that, we have the blog list widget. It's there to display recent blog posts, like these here. And its settings allow you to change the widget title. You can switch recent posts to something else entirely, like latest. And you can set a title margin if you're not happy with the spacing here. Next, the type. Simple is the default. It creates this display that includes images accompanied by titles and dates. I'm going to switch it to minimal so we can see what the difference is. Okay, refresh. And this is the minimal. It has the title and date, but no image. I'll set it back to simple. I think it's nicer. Next, we can limit the number of posts shown in the sidebar. It's set to 3 and that's okay with me. Then we can adjust the spacing between posts. You can remove it entirely or pick one from the offer in this dropdown. Then you can pick in which order the posts are displayed. And if you only want posts from a certain category to show, you can set that here. Just type in the category name. Then the title tag. The current one is H6. This is it, the H6 title. Then we have the title text transform with several options. And that's it. Let me refresh the post. The next widget here is another separator added for spacing. And after that, we have categories. Here we have all the possible categories for our posts listed. In terms of settings, we can change the way the list is shown as a drop-down, so it takes up less space. Then show post counts. That's actually the number in the brackets, total posts for the category. And then finally, the hierarchy. The next widget here is another separator added for spacing. And after that, the Instagram widget. See, it's not showing up. That's because I haven't connected my Instagram account yet. Nevertheless, I don't want to keep this widget here, so delete. Accordingly, I don't need this separator either. Delete. And after that, we have the Contact Form 7 widget. That's this form here. In terms of settings, you can give it a bottom margin or change the title or the title bottom margin. It's set to 17 pixels. That's this space here. And then here is where you select which of the predefined forms you want to use. There are several pre-styled options included in the Isle theme. And if you want a different custom style, like light or dark, you can pick it here. Okay, that's it for the contact form. Further down in our sidebar, we have the tags. They've been added using this tag cloud widget. It lets us pick the taxonomy, meaning we can choose something other than tags to show here, like portfolio categories. The dropdown includes several possibilities. And lastly, we have the banner, added using the image widget. This is a simple way to add banners to your sidebar. Just drag and drop an image widget, upload the image you want, and then add a link to whichever page you like. And on the front, that looks like this. And that's how you build the sidebar. Now that I've sorted out my sidebar, I can show you how to activate it on your posts. Here in Post Settings, we have the sidebar layout set to show by default. However, there are alternative options you can choose from. Once you're done with the layout, under Sidebar to Display, you can decide which sidebar will be shown. The one I edited was the default, so I don't have to change anything here. Now, all the blog settings can be found under the theme options, here under blog. And here the sidebar layout for archive pages. It's set to 1/4 of the page and positioned to the right. And below we have the single blog settings. The sidebar for singles is also 1/4 right. Then the sidebar that's displayed is the default one. That's the sidebar we just saw in the widgets. The one you set up there is treated as default by the theme. Okay, these are the basics you need to make your blog singles or posts. Now I'm going to make more so I can populate my blog list, but I'll skip ahead with the video so there's no need for you to watch me do the same steps again. Once you've finished making your posts, go back to the homepage and update it. Then we can take a look at the row with the blog list and check out its settings. To start with, we can pick the type, which has several options like standard, boxed, masonry, simple, and minimal. I'll stick with standard. After that, we can pick how many posts will be shown on the list. Since I only have 4 posts for the category I made, wedding news, I don't need to limit the number here as I will choose to show only my category later. Then we can decide how many columns will be shown. The maximum is 6 and the minimum is 1. Okay. The space between items, it's set to normal, that's like middle ground. Now, the order by and order are okay, but here, the category I need to replace. Mine is wedding news and there it is. Okay. Also, you can set a different image if you want to, just pick one from this drop-down. Now I'm going to save changes and go to the front end to see if my blog list is now showing the appropriate category. Okay, this is what the demo blog list looks like, and now let's refresh. That's it. These are the singles I made for the wedding news category. Now let's go back to the settings. As far as additional blog list settings go, we have here the option to change the title tag. Title text transform to limit text length. The 9 here is the 9 words that are shown on the front. That's this. Then we have the option to disable the post info image. If you want, you can also choose to disable the post info section and the author info. Basically, all of this can be disabled. And there are a few more options here. Now at the bottom, we can see that comments, likes, and shares have been disabled. If you want to make them visible, this is where you'd enable them. And in the additional features, you can set the pagination type if you have more posts than I do here. So for me, it's not applicable and I'll leave it set to none. And that's it. Now let's see what our next section is. It's a parallax image with a CTA button. CTA stands for call to action, by the way. It was made by adding a parallax image to the entire row. I'll just replace that image now. Let me upload a different one. Just a moment while I look for the new one. Okay, there it is. And set image. Save changes. I'll update the page too so I can check the front. Refresh. And okay, there. Now for a parallax image to look its best, it should have the dimensions of 1920 by 1000 or 1100 depending on the height of the section content. And thanks to the theme, you won't have to make any special adjustments to get the parallax effect here, just replace the image. Now the rest of this row's content has been built using the elements holder. Let's open it up. The holder contains one column, which means we have one elements holder item. And within that item, we have 3 elements. The first is the custom font. The font here isn't part of the theme, so it had to be added using a WP Bakery element. The settings for it include the option to add title text, which was used for the demo. You can even add a typeout effect on top of that, or set a line break if you need one. And you can use the title tag to pick a different H tag for your title. And this is where we've set the font family, then font size, line height, font weight, style, and so on. All of these are changeable, color included. The text is aligned to center and the margins are 0 to keep the text centered. Now these tabs, starting with laptop, these are here so you can adjust the responsiveness settings for different devices. As you can see, the laptop has no particular settings, so it will use what is set for the desktop options under the General tab. And the laptop settings apply to Macs as well. Then Tablet Landscape. That's the display when you tilt your tablet horizontally. And we can see that there is a font size set for this font. So the title will be 67 pixels, and we have the same setting for the tablet portrait view. And finally, on mobiles, we have both the size and the line height set to 57 pixels. Okay. Next, we have another empty space element, and then the call to action element. In terms of options, we can choose between a simple and normal layout. I'll leave it as simple because we only have a button and a bit of text on the front, this one here. Then this is where we type in the text we want to have on our button, this one. Now the text that's above the button is actually here. See? Its font color is white, so it's not immediately apparent. To make sure, you can always open the text editing mode. And there. Changing the text might be simpler from here. Just take care not to remove the markup tags. Also, we can change the H tag for this text, or you can keep the H3 set by the theme, as I'm going to do. That's it for the text. Now for the button. Button top margin. It's there to separate the button from the text. It's the space here. And the button type is solid, but you can switch that to outline. The size is set by default, and the button link will lead to the RSVP page. You can change that, of course. Next, the button link target will open in the same window. Then the button color, button background color, and button border color are all changeable. Okay, that's it for this section. The next one is our lovely theme. It's made with a theme element. This section is sometimes made using single theme pages, but in this case it's made using the special theme element. So here we have a 3-column row with 3 theme elements. So each of these is one theme element. I'll start by replacing the image. Let me find a new one. Okay. Set image. Now, this is where we can change the name. And we can change the H tag on the name. You have the full range of options here. Then the color. You can change it to something other than this here. And after that, the position or role and the color for it. Then the text, that's this on the front. And you'd replace it here. You can change the text color or add social icons if you like. And another thing we can change is the position of this text here by changing the type to info on image hover. I'm actually going to change it to show you what it looks like. Update. And let's go check the front. Refresh. Okay, we only changed the first element and now only the image is visible. But when we hover over it, our title and text appear. I have to admit it looks wrong. It will look better with shorter text or no text at all. I'll switch it back. Let me see. There it is. And info below image, save. Now I'm going to skip ahead with the video while I replace the images for the other 2 theme elements. Okay. Refresh. And there they are. And they kept the hover effect. The next section, we have this carousel. On the front, it includes a background color that's been added to the entire row. I'm going to change it to a different one. I already know the hex code, so I'll just type it in. OK, save the change and update. Now let's see what it looks like on the page on the front. Refresh, and there it is. Now this here is our carousel. Let's see what options we have for that. To start with, we can pick the number of visible items. And the loop, we saw the same option with the testimonials. When enabled, it will keep the client items looping on the carousel. And the autoplay is familiar too. When enabled, it will ensure the carousel items start to move on their own as soon as the page loads, without users having to navigate them. We can change the slide duration and the slide animation duration. Then we can enable navigation arrows or set a slider pagination. And finally, the item's hover animation can be rollover or switch images. I'll keep the original setting with switch images. On the page, that looks like this. The image darkens a bit when you hover over it. That's done by having a darker version of the same image that shows on hover. Okay, next, the client items themselves. You add new ones if you need more. In terms of options, we have the image setting where you add the initial image and then the hover image below it. We can adjust the image size if necessary. And then we can add a link to the image. The hashtag will lead back to the same page. Also, you can pick if the link will be opened in a new window or in the same one. Okay, moving on. That's it for the carousel. Next. Okay, this is a section title, we've seen that already. But underneath that is the portfolio list. Now, we already had one before. The difference between the first one, here, is that it's masonry, and the one we have now, this, uses the gallery template. The options for settings we have are identical. We get to pick click behavior, column number, the space between items, number of singles shown, proportions, shadow, category, and so on. Since I already took you through making a portfolio list earlier, I'm just going to skip ahead with the video. Meanwhile, I'll create new portfolio singles to be displayed in the list on the homepage. Update and refresh to see if my new singles will be there. Yes, they are, but the images are much taller. So I think I'll change the way they're displayed in the portfolio list element settings. Let me see, here in image proportions, I'll change it to original. Save and let's see if this will do. Over to the front to refresh the page. And yes, this is much better. Now, there's another thing I'd like to mention about this portfolio list. In row settings, here, and under the design options tab, we can see that the top margin is set to -25.7%. In practice, that covers this space here and means that our images appear as if laid over the background here. That's it. Okay, and after this, the text with the background here. It's built using the custom font element. The options should be familiar, we've seen them already, but the image, that was added using the row settings, and you can change it under elated background image. I'm going to replace mine, just a moment. Here, set image, save changes, update, and let's see what happens on the front. Refresh. Okay, my new image is there. Next we have the, let me locate it, this section here. On the front, that's this parallax background image with several elements over it. The image itself was added using row settings here in background image, and I'm just going to set a different image now. Let's give it a moment. Save changes. Then update and let's see the front. Refresh. And there it is. Now, we can see the content here is set in 2 columns. We've already seen that you can make columns using several methods. Here we've done it by stacking the elements with the help of the elements holder. The first Elements Holder item, that's the one on the left, contains a section title. On the front, that's this. Then we have some empty space, and after that is the text block element. We use that to add this dummy text on the front. Okay, then another empty space, and finally a button. The type is outline and the text is read more. We have a link to one of the side pages here. Overall, same as we've seen before. And that's the end of the left column. Now, the second Elements Holder item, the right column. It has progress bars and each of them was added as a separate element. Here we can see all 4 of them and there's empty space in between. As for the settings, we can set a percentage. Here it's 45. We can change the type. The alternative to the default is floating. Then we can set a title, decoration, here it is. Also, we can change the title tag, title color. The active color is white. It's here, and the inactive color is this unfilled part of the progress bar. I'm going to change the inactive color to white as well. I think it'll make a nicer contrast to my background image. I'll change it with all the other progress bars too, but I'll skip ahead for that. Okay, update so my changes will be saved, and let's refresh the page to see it now. That's it, looks good. The inactive color is white, but the line is still visually distinct from the active color. And after this, we have the shop section. Let me show you what it looks like in the back. With every new section, the scroll down takes longer. Okay, section title, empty space, product list, and this is the product list on the front. As with all lists, we need singles first. So now I'm going to show you how to make a product single for your shop. Let's go to the back. And in the menu on the left, find Products. This option is supplied by the WooCommerce plugin. This is a plugin you need for creating an online store. You just need to install all the plugins recommended by the theme before importing the demo. And actually, let's start with categories. It's the same principle we had with the portfolio singles and blog singles. I'm going to quickly add one new category, wedding, and add. There's my wedding category now. Next, let's see the tags. There are quite a few options already here. I'm going to use these for my singles. But if you want or need to, you can create new ones just by naming and adding them on the left. Nothing to it. Same principle we had with the categories. Now I'm going to get on with making my shop single. Go to Add New. Start by adding a product name. Okay, and the next thing I want to do is enable building this page with WP Bakery, so I'll click here. Then we can add a category. I'll tick the one I made, wedding. Then add a few tags. Just start typing and click to select. When you're done, just add. After that, the main product image is set here. I'll set one immediately, just let me find it. Okay, here. Set product image. This will be the main product image. And of course, it's always a good idea to have multiple product images on your page, so I'm going to add a few here using the gallery. Just a moment, I'll add 4 more showing different angles. Add to gallery, and then just update the page as well. I want to see what the page looks like with all I've done so far. This is it. This is the main image here, and on the side are the 4 from the gallery. We can click on any of them to see the images enlarged. Then our title is here. The category tags, everything we've set so far is visible here. My single needs more content, so let's add some. Add element, and I'll start with the row. And in it, I'll add a text block. There. I needed to add a product description. Of course, for this demonstration, that description is gonna be dummy text. Save. Now update and let's see where our description will be on the page. Refresh. Not here, but there it is. We have a description tab and a tab for reviews. The text we just added is here. Which reminds me, we also need to add a short description. That's done here. Paste, update, and let's refresh the front. And here is our short description. It appears below our title. The next thing that's important for our shop is the product type for our single. We have the choice of simple, grouped, external or affiliate, and variable product types. I'm going to go through the simple product with you now. The important settings are product price here. You need to set a regular price, but you can also add a sale or discount price. I'm going to do that now so I can show you what it looks like on the front end. Update and let's see the page. Refresh. And this is it. It's shown like this. The image is shown with this sale marker. And the price we set, the regular is crossed out and the sale price is shown. The next thing we need to add is this SKU. It stands for Stock Keep Unit, and it's generally used to track products. So you can start listing your products starting with one and increase the numbers as you go. And remember, each product needs a unique SKU number. Okay, then stock status. You can pick between in stock, out of stock, on back order. That depends on the actual product status. I'll leave mine as in stock. Okay, then shipping. This is where you'd add information relevant to transport, shipping, packaging, like weight, then length, width, height, and so on. After that, the link products. You'd use this if you want to link this product with another based on its attributes, for example. It's there to help with cross-selling and upselling. Then attributes. You can set stuff like product color here. And the advanced settings, you won't need this for the initial setup. Same goes for get more options. That's it. Update. And refresh the page. Okay, now we can see the SKU number, the one we added. And this was here before, but quantity. This is where users can select the number of products for purchase and then add them to cart. And at the very bottom, we have a section with related products. And that's it. Now I'm going to make more singles so we can move on to making a shop list. Once all the singles are ready, you need to get back to the home page backend and update it. Then let's scroll down to the product list element so we can go through the options. There it is. We can change the list type from standard to masonry. The product info position can be on hover or below image. I'm keeping it as is. The number of products can be limited. I have enough singles to keep the 10 here. You can pick the number of columns too. Currently there are 5 products or columns per row. Then you can pick the spacing and the order, the taxonomy. This is where you pick if your list will display products based on their category, tag, or ID. I'll keep category since I made a new one, and I'll note that down here. Wedding. And we can also change image properties. Okay, save changes, update. And let's see if my new singles will show as they should. Refresh, give it a sec. And there they are. Oh, now I can show you what the list would look like with info on hover. Let me switch it in the settings. Okay, scroll down and down there. And then here, change it to info on image hover. Save changes, update, and let's refresh the page. So this is what it would look like. When you hover over an image, the price is replaced with an add to cart button. Actually, it's not working for me, so I'll switch it back to the way it was. Give me a sec to reach the row I need. Okay, back to below image. Next, the product info. Let's take a look at the options here. We can pick whether to display the product title or not. Choose whether to show category, excerpt, product rating, and more. Then on the following tab, we have the styling options. We can change the title tag, transform the title text, also change the button skin between light and dark. We can set a shade or background color, but I don't think I'll need it here. And finally, there are the product info text alignment settings and the bottom margin settings. If we want to make more space here, we need to set a pixel value in this field to adjust the bottom margin. Save changes, update, and let's see the front. Refresh. Now my info is under the image and the list looks nice. Moving on. The next section. Just a sec. This section title. It has a background image spanning the entire row, and I'll just be replacing it quickly. Let me find my own. There it is. Set and save. Now let's update and check the front. Refresh. And there's my new image now. So once we've sorted that, let's see the settings for the pricing tables below. Actually, this is one pricing table element with 3 pricing table items. Let's see the available settings here. You can pick the number of columns, i.e. items, and the spacing between them. That's it. Now our pricing table items have the following options. Let's see what you'll need. You can set a content background color. So you can adjust this background color. Next, you can change the title text. That's this. Then title color, title bottom border color. That's actually this line. Then you can add a price, set a currency, or customize the price period. Change the button text, the link, switch the button to solid or outline. Then the content box, this text, that's shown like this on the front. And you can change it here from the visual mode or by switching to text mode. Now I want to show you something. If we change the item to active, let's see what happens. Update and refresh the page. Nothing. We can see that nothing's changed. Now, an active pricing table is, let's call it a featured table. It's the part of your offer you want to draw attention to, so why didn't anything change? With the aisle, when you set a pricing table item to active, you need to supply it with an image for the change to become visible. That would be this option, background image for active table. Let me show you how it looks on the front. Here it is. The image you add will appear here in the corner. So remember, just setting a table to active won't do much for you. Okay, after this section we have the Instagram feed. But it's not showing properly. That's because it's not connected yet. We're going to fix that now by heading over to the aisle options and finding the settings for social networks. Okay, now scroll down. We need to locate the options for Instagram. And there, connect with Instagram. In order for this to work, you need to be logged into the Instagram account you want to connect. Then just click. And if the connection is successful, you'll see a notice under the Instagram options. Here it is, this green band saying you've successfully connected. Then save changes. And after that, we can refresh the page and see what it looks like. Okay, there it is, our Instagram account. And it's showing our feed and latest posts as it should be. In the back, you set this up by using the elated Instagram list element. Now let's see what settings we have for it here. We can pick the number of columns, i.e. posts, that will be shown. You can pick anything from 2 to 6 columns. 6 is currently on. The list type can be gallery or carousel. Now the seesaw effect. Let's see what happens when we turn it off. Save. Update. And let's see. Oh, not this. This. Refresh. Now all my images are aligned and leveled. I think it's more interesting with the effect, so I'll set it back to enabled. Just a moment. Okay, next. The space is small, the number of photos is 6. Now the image is cache time. This is the amount of time in seconds that once elapsed will trigger your Instagram feed to refresh and upload all the pictures you've published in the given period. So for the duration of the time you set, your site's Instagram images will stay the same. Then when it's over, the site will load and display the new images on the profile. If you want this section to update dynamically, then simply set a 0 here. Then we can pick to show the Instagram icon or to change image size from large to medium or small. Now the other tab, Enable Slider Loop. It's set to yes, but nothing is looping, as in the General tab earlier, I left the number of images shown at 6, and the number of columns is also 6. If I had set a higher number, then we would have more images and the slider would have material that would be looped. And since my Instagram list type is set to gallery and not carousel, they aren't applicable for me. Save changes and update. Now let's see the page. Refresh. Okay, next. Oops, skipped too far. We have a Google map now. If you recall, we had to set an API key for it to show in the first place. Now you add it to a page using the Google Map element. There are some additional settings we get here. The first one is the field where you can set the address to be shown. We can set up 2 different addresses that will be marked on the map. The snazzy map style is enabled. This is a really nifty option that lets you apply a predefined map style. So this map doesn't really look like a standard Google map. The location pin here has a little heart, the colors match the theme. All of this was done using the snazzy map style. You can further customize the map by going to snazzymaps.com, making an account, and then styling the map however you want. Though keep in mind you still have to purchase the API code. Next we have the pin. It's added as an image, this one. You can change it if you want. Then we can change the value for the zoom factor here in Map Zoom. The smallest value is 0 and the highest 19. I'm going to keep the default setting of factor 11 as it makes for a good view. After that, zoom map on mouse wheel. Enabling this would mean that users could use the scroll wheel on their mouse to zoom in or out of the map. Since the map here is full width, it's not very practical to use it here, so I'll leave this option off. And finally, we can set the map height. Just enter a value in pixels if you want to change it. Okay, save. And let's see what we have next. Okay, this row is clearly divided into 2 columns, and the back reflects this. The column on the left contains an inner row. It contains a section title, empty space, and a text block. So that will be this on the front. Then below, these 2 columns are this on the front. Each contains a text block, just plain paragraph text here. And it has 3 icon with text elements. We've already seen the options for this element. Again, we can pick how the icon will be positioned. Here the icon is to the left of the text, and on the front, that looks pretty good. The icon here belongs to an icon pack. It's the chat box. This is it. We can also set a custom icon. Next, we can change the title. Here the title is actually the email address. Then the icon settings. We can adjust the size by picking one, or we can set a custom size. So this icon is actually 25 pixels. The icon color matches the theme main color. And the hover is not set. As you can see, nothing's happening. It's not clickable. And finally, the text settings. The title text has a p tag, so it's formatted as a paragraph. And the title top margin is set to -6. This serves to adjust the position of this text here. The negative top margin raised it up a bit. And that's it. Now, the right side. This column contains the contact form, this contact form 7 element. The settings include the use of a custom form made to match the theme, as well as a custom style. You can pick a different style here, and you can edit the look of all the custom styles by navigating to the Isle options, contact form 7. Okay, that's it. Update just in case. And let's see what else we have left on the page. Okay, refresh first. And this is the footer here. Now, its general settings are under the Isle options in footer. And we can pick whether it will be set in a grid. We can enable the uncovering footer effect, which will make it gradually appear, or choose whether to have the show footer tag enabled. That's this entire area here. It has 4 columns showing by default. The alignment is left. Next, we can set a different background color for it, pick a border color, or add a custom border width. Then the footer bottom. That's this area here underneath, with social icons. There are 2 columns here, but you can change that to 1 or 3. And these options are the same as above. We now have a border color and width. That's this line. And that's it for the general footer settings. Now that we've gone through this, we can take a look at footer content. Back in the widget settings. Okay, minimize this. And here are the footer areas. Starting with top column 1, and that's this on the front. The image is the old theme logo, so I'm going to replace it now. Just let me find the one I used before. There. And add to widget. Then I'm going to replace the link so that it now leads to my homepage. And save. When I refresh, everything should be there. Yes, my logo is here and it's clickable. Okay. After this, we have the text widget. Again, if you want to change the content, you can use either the visual or text editing mode. And if you want to keep the same style while changing the text, just avoid the HTML elements like font, color, margin, and work only on the text for replacement. That's this here. And that's it. Then the icon widget. That's this area here, actually. The icon pack is the same one we picked earlier, icon, and the icon itself is also the same. The email is set as text here. And you can add a link to that email to make it clickable. Also set whether it will open in the same window or not. Icon size is 25 pixels, same as before. You can change the icon color if you want. Also, you can set an icon hover color and adjust the text size if the default isn't working for you. The text color is a bit different, there to complement the footer background color. Now, all these options are the same for the other two icon widgets. See? And they have the separator widget between them to help with the spacing. And that's it for column 1. Then the next column in the footer top has a navigation menu. There's a title and we can select the menu for display. Right now there's nothing visible on the page, but that's because you have to select the menu you want to display. So we'll just select it now. There it is, footer menu. It's a regular menu made with the menu options under appearance. Now this menu won't be visible anywhere else, unless you set it of course. Save, and let's refresh. There it is. Here it provides additional navigation options to the users who reach the footer. Actually, let me show you how you can customize it on your own. In Appearance, Menus. And first I'll find it in the drop-down. Select. These are the menu items that are set as custom links. That means you go here to custom links and then set whichever address you want. After that, type in the link text and just click on Add to Menu. Don't worry, you can still change the navigation label, but I'm going to remove this item in any case. Okay, save, and let's get back to the footer. The third column now, a separator and a blog list widget. We set the widget title, that's the About Us here. Then we have the type set as minimal. Remember, the footer has limited space and the simple type includes images. Then we have 3 posts shown, with a tiny space between them. And we can pick the order and category in which the posts will be shown, as usual. Then we have the 4th column, that's the Instagram feed. There's a separator and the Instagram widget. Here you can change the title if you want to. That's this. Then you can change the type to carousel. Also pick the number of columns for display and the number of photos that will be shown. And you can increase the image size, but the footer space is limited, and that is something you should keep in mind when changing any of these settings. And that's all we have for the footer top. Now the footer bottom. The settings are right underneath the footer top. In column 1, we only have the text widget. Now this text entry includes a link. You can easily replace it. As we've already seen, you can change text using the text editing mode as well as the visual mode. Then bottom column 2. This contains social icon widgets with separators. That's this on the front. First, we can choose whether to display our social icon as an actual icon or as text. Here it's set to text. I'll leave it. The text says Facebook. Since we have that, we won't need to pick an icon from the drop-down. We just need a link to the profile and to decide how the link will open. It's set to open in a new window since it takes users to a different site. Next, we can pick a custom icon size, replace the current colors, or have a hover color here too. And we have a margin to help with the positioning. That's it. You'll find the same settings for the other 3 social icons in the footer bottom. Okay, we can leave the widgets now. Yes. Now, the next thing I want to show you how to make the Our Story page. That's this one here. Let's take a look. Right now it looks like this. It has some familiar sections, so we won't go through it in detail, but there are a few things I'd like to show you. Firstly, the page name is Our Story, so let's find it in all pages. And search for it. I have a lot of leftover demo pages. Here it is. And the first thing we see is this title image, and you can replace it using the title options under background image. Here. I'm going to replace mine now. Just a moment so I can find the one I prepared. There. Okay. Now my image is 1920 by 800 pixels. You'll need to pay attention to the dimensions as it's going to be set as full width and it's going to have parallax. The actual height that will be shown on the page is 410 pixels. Then below you can decide how the image will behave. If you want to hide it, make it responsive, have it keep the parallax effect, even add a parallax with zoom effect, or disable parallax entirely. I'm going to keep the default setting. Also, you can change the vertical alignment, adjust the title tag, and so on. But what I actually want to do now is check on my page. So let's go and refresh it. And there's my new image, parallax effects and all. Then after this, we have a section title, already seen. But below it, this is one row split into 2 columns, and that's reflected on the front. The interesting settings here are the responsive options. To start with, we can see that there's an offset here. That means our content won't start immediately from the left edge, but that there will be 1 column's worth of space left. And the width of that content takes up 1/3 of the row space. Let me clarify a bit. Each row is divided into 12 imaginary columns, almost a grid. And these imaginary columns are used to arrange elements, items, offset, and so on. This is why our left element column, occupying 1/3 of the row space, is set at 4 imaginary columns. 12 divided by 4 is 3. If you want to make something with 5 columns, a number not divisible with 12, you'd use an elements holder. Why is this whole complication important? Because arranging your content in these imaginary columns lets that content adapt to different screen sizes. The settings below are for different devices, meaning screen sizes, and the other column is set up with responsive options for 2 columns of offset. That's this here. Actually, just a sec. These are set so they balance out the offset on the left. And there's also 1/3 for the content width. Okay. Now the other elements. There's single image. I'm going to replace the image here with one of my own. There. Set image. That's it for that one. And I'll replace the one in the second column as well. Just a sec so I can find my replacement. Okay. Set image. Now moving on. We have this custom font element. This is what we'd use to insert the title. This is that title text on the front, and you can see that the font's pretty specific. The field where you set your custom font is here below, font family. The rest of these options we've seen before. Then we have a plain text block, but after that is the social share element. Here you can change the type and icon type. And all the icons shown on the front are those belonging to social networks that our site is connected to in the general theme options. Okay, these same settings are available for the right column. I'll just update the page now so that I can make sure my new images will be there. And they are. Now the next section is this parallax image with custom font. The image itself was added across the row, and I'll just replace it quickly now using row settings. Let me find it. Okay, that's it. Set image, save. And the custom font with the text added as title text. Okay, update. And let's see the new image. Refresh. There, nice. Now, underneath we have this timeline section. It's built using the workflow element. Let's open it up to see. Okay, we can change the line color and pick whether the workflow will be animated or not. Now, more specific settings are located in individual workflow items. So we can set a title here. That's the first date here. Then we can have the subtitle, our story. That's this. After that, we have the text. It's located underneath here. Then the image showing the date. It's placed on the left and you can replace it here. Now the next option, the circle border color. We can set a distinct border for the workflow element. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, currently the circles are a palish gray, so let me set something more apparent. There, just a sec. Okay, save and update. Now let's see. Refresh. There is a circle border. The dark gray is making it stand out. I did this for show. I think it looks weird, so I'm going to set it back to default. Okay, clear and save. Let me update the page as well to make sure it's gone from the front. Refresh. Yes. Now, each circle marks a workflow item, and all element items after the first one have the same setup, so you can easily make more using the same steps. After this, we have a section title, but below that, an image gallery. I'm going to replace all these images with new ones. Save changes and update. Now let's refresh to check them. Okay, there they are. Now in terms of settings options for the gallery, we can change the type, switch the display to masonry, slider or carousel. Then we can affect the image size, add a shadow or change the behavior. Let's try open lightbox. Save changes, update. Now let's see what we've done. Okay. With this behavior, you can click on an image and see it enlarged with the rest of the page dimmed. And this way you can go through the whole gallery using the navigation arrows. Okay. Now let's see what other options we have for the gallery here. We can change the column number and the item spacing. Okay. And we have one final section left. That's this parallax image at the bottom. It also has a custom font element. I'm going to change the image now with one of my own. Let me find it. There. Okay. And set image. Then save changes. I'll also update the page. And now when I refresh it on the front, I have a new image. Okay. The next thing I want to do is show you how to make the RSVP page. It's in our main menu already, here. Now, the RSVP page is intended to help the wedding guests confirm or decline attendance. So the main thing we have here is this RSVP form. And it has some straightforward fields that guests need to fill out. Visitors have to confirm their attendance by clicking yes here and then this RSVP button. Before that, of course, they have to fill in their details. Now let me just see what else we have on this page. Okay, this page is more compact compared to the ones we looked at earlier. So let's see what elements we have for it. And first, we need to find that page among all the other pages we have. So, RSVP search. By the way, a bit of trivia. RSVP is French for please reply. Répondez s'il vous plaît. And since the page is found, let's open it up now and see what it's made of. The first thing here is the section title. It's set in an elements folder and includes a background image. On the front, it looks like this. And you can replace it here. I'm actually going to do so now. Let me just find a new one. Okay, there. Set image. Now, the paddings we have here are for the top and then for the bottom. The left and right are set to 0. The paddings are actually here and here around the text. We can change them if necessary, of course. Save, update, and let's see how the new image looks. Okay. Then the section right underneath is a revolution slider. That's because, as you can see, there are quite a few elements here, and sometimes complex sections like this one with quite a few elements are easier to create with revolution slider, and we already have it at our disposal, plus we want to animate some segments, so it's a logical choice. Let me just refresh the page so we can see the animation effects we have. There, okay. Now we can see about editing it. You'll need the revolution slider options. There they are. And here is the section we'll be changing. We're looking at different layers here. I'll start by replacing this pale blue background image. Now we need to stay here in Module General Options and select Layout. And when we scroll down these options, we reach the image info in Module Background. We can see the image is added using its URL from the media library. So let's open the media library to find its replacement. Here in Media, I'm going to upload a new image. Okay. Now the image I prepared, it includes a section of transparent space at the top and at the bottom. This is possible because it's a PNG image. Now I'm just going to copy its destination URL. And then I'll paste it in place of the old image URL. Save. And let's see the page. Refresh. Excellent. There's my new background image now. The next thing I want to do is replace this flower. I'll add one of my own. It's made using a regular image layer. You add it the same way as any other layer in the revolution slider, meaning go to Add Layer, then Image and WordPress library. Now you just need to select the replacement image. Here's mine. Insert. Basically, I'm adding the same flower, only this one is colored to match the new background. Since matching colors is my primary goal here, I won't change its placement, I'll just set it over the old flower. Easier to target that way. Let me just save and we can take a look. Refresh. My new flower is there, but it doesn't have an animation. I'm going to give it one using the animation layer option. And I'd like it to be a pop-up animation, so pop-up smooth. Now, the duration's okay, but I'll give it 50 milliseconds after page load to start. Saving. The other thing I want to do while I'm here is find and remove the old flower, the blue one. And there it is. Now I'm going to delete the whole layer here, so actually just press delete on your keyboard and save. Let's give it a sec. Now when I refresh, my page will be lighter for having removed the superfluous layer. And now the flower has an animation too. The next thing I want to do is, where is it? I want to replace this leafy image as well. In the back, you need to move to the right to see it. Yes, there. And we'll add a new layer. Image. Clicked fast. Sorry. I need the WordPress library. And let me upload the replacement image. Okay. Insert. There. Now I'll do the same thing I did before and drag this over the old image to position it where it should be. That's it. I can immediately delete the old layer. Okay. And while I'm here, let me add an animation to the new image. Animation. And I'll make it another pop-up smooth. The duration stays again, but the start can be at 200 milliseconds. Okay, save. Now when I refresh the page, my new image should appear. Yes, it's there. So, the next thing is replacing these couple images with my couple images. Let's start with the one on the left, this one. Now add layer, image, WordPress library, and let me see, here. Okay. Insert. And again, I'll just drag it over the old one. There. Now let me delete the one underneath. Which layer was it? Delete. And let's not forget the animation. I'm going to give it a, well, since the image is positioned on the left, something coming from the left would look nice. So slide transition and short slide from left looks good. And the start can be at 150 milliseconds. Now let's save all this. And when it's done, we can take a look at the front. Okay, this looks nice, and the image is there and the animation too. And I'm going to use the same steps to change the image on the right. Let's take a look. Refresh. Ooh, nice. Not to sound too self-congratulatory. Also, we've seen how you can change text on the earlier evolution slider. You can replace the text, title, and button easily. That's it for this part. I'm just going to close the tab for the revolution slider. Now for the rest of this section. The contact form. The main point of the RSVP page. The form itself is pre-styled, so if it doesn't show automatically, you only need to pick it from the drop-down here. And we've already seen it on the front. It looks like this. Now, the form itself is added to an Elements holder item. This is where you change the paddings to affect the form's position. And the row settings. Actually, there's not much you'll need here. But in column settings, we have a negative margin set for the column. We've given it a -960 pixels so that this form goes upwards and ends up over the slider. That's all we need here. The rest of the page, we have a section title row and an info box row with 3 columns. Each column has one info box element. We have several customization options here, like color. Also, we can change the icon, and we can replace the title and text here. That's this on the front. You can set a different link. This one is for a map and is connected to the button with the view map text. That's it. By the way, on the front, these 3 icons are all custom, so keep in mind you won't find any like them in the packs. And the button opens a map, but you can easily change the link to take users to a page. Okay, below that we have the Google Map element. Actually, we've seen this before while building the home page. So I won't go through it again, it's identical. In fact, to finish up, we can go back through the home page as a reminder of all the things we've seen in this video. Here we are. You can make all these now. A new website is at your fingertips. Of course, this video is here for any refresher you might need in the future as well. And in the description section for the video, you'll be able to find some useful links. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please drop us a line in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be the first to learn about new theme guides and tutorials.